0845 6060 973. Matt is in York. Hello, Matt.
Hello there.
Hello there, Matt. What do you think about the e-cigarettes?
Well, I think that they're absolutely fantastic. I think they're a brilliant invention. And I think if they're going to be on TV instead of actual cigarettes, I think that's an absolutely brilliant move. It's going to be a huge public health benefit.
Well, they don't know that yet, Matt. That's the thing. I mean, I'm completely reluctant to allow this to turn into an advert for e-cigarettes, because we just don't know, actually. I mean, we assume that they're the better of two evils, but we don't know for sure, do we, until they've been looked into?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious they're a lot safer than cigarette smoke. The thing is, when you're thinking about the safety of e-cigs, don't compare them with the safest possible thing on the planet. You should compare them with tobacco smoke, which is, everybody knows about the dangers of cigarette smoke. So if it's generally accepted that an e-cig is 99% less harmful than cigarette smoking, and so therefore the logical thing for any smoker would be to at least consider using an e-cig. And anyone that wants to use an e-cig should be allowed to and encouraged to if they were a smoker. If the alternative is cigarette smoke, you'd have to be an idiot not to think that e-cigs shouldn't be made available to smokers.
I mean, that's certainly where, to be honest with you, where I'm coming from, having been a smoker and being thrilled and delighted that I actually can't stand them now. I don't mind other people smoking around me, but they just, for me, taste utterly disgusting. But listen, what about, though, the mixed signals we're getting? We're being told that we can't use our vaporizers on buses or on trains, or certainly in some pubs. People are asked to put them away because of other people's reaction to them. Do you think that there just isn't enough publicity, promotion, explanation?
I think it's lack of awareness amongst the general population about what e-cigs are about. And there is this link in people's mind with cigarette smoking, which they've been sort of conditioned now for years to think that they should always avoid if they're in a public place. And I think it's this lack of awareness about what it is, which is why it would be such a good thing if they were on television more. If people would become more aware that actually they're a very safe alternative in comparison to cigarettes, and that the public by and large would become more aware that actually they're completely harmless to bystanders. There's no second-hand smoke effect. So if you're next to someone smoking or using an e-cig, it's not going to harm you in any way, shape or form. So once people realise, and I think if it's on TV more, if it's put into TV shows, and the awareness up and down the country grows, I think a lot of this panicking kind of knee-jerk reaction will fall away. It's got to be a good move for smokers to take up e-cigs, and e-cigs should be made, the government should be backing them. They should be making them as widely available as possible.
Oh, well, of course they're not going to back them. They're losing 1.3 million people using these, means we're not paying tobacco duty, but they will put duty presumably on the e-cigs eventually. Because they've lost all those I mean, the amount of money that I haven't spent and therefore hasn't gone into the government coffers, it always makes me laugh when I say that in relation to smoking, is even just from me, and I suspect from you alone, is in the hundreds of pounds, if not the thousands.
But I tell you what I do with that money, and I think what most people do with that money is they don't save it, they spend it on something else.
True.
So that's boosting the economy. I buy things that I wouldn't have bought. I buy more clothes than I would have done. I buy nicer clothes than I would have done. I go on more holidays than I would have done. With that money, it's getting spent back into the economy. So the government doesn't completely lose.
That's a very good point. I mean, the thing is, though, Matt, what I'm waiting for is for the regulation for e-cigs to be regulated as medicine. And I think that if it is ever regulated as medicine, in the same way I believe that patches are, nicotine patches are, and that's why they can be prescribed by doctors and by hospitals, that once that happens, should that happen, then the public perhaps will get more on board with it.
I think that would be the worst possible thing they could do.
Really?
To regulate it as a medicine, because it isn't a medicine. Smokers don't think that they're ill. I'm an e-cig user, and I don't think that I'm ill at all. So why should I be told that I have to take a medicine? what medicine regulation will do will make e-cigs boring, bland. It'll only allow the big tobacco companies and the big pharmaceutical companies that can afford the regulations to stay in the market. It'll take away all the innovation. It'll take away all of the new products coming out onto the market. They won't be there anymore. And it'll totally stifle what's happening at the moment. I think what it needs is very, very gentle regulation. And it's a myth that e-cigs aren't regulated at the moment, because you can't put a product onto the market in the EU without dozens of different regulations already applying to them. So any e-cig that's on the market now will be covered by general product safety regulations, which covers the purity of the liquid, it covers the electrical safety of the batteries. So the regulations are already in place. You know, they need to be enforced and looked at properly. But to actually classify e-cigs as medicines when they're not medicinal is, I think, crazy. I mean, you wouldn't want coffee percolators to be classed as a medicine, even though they perform a very similar function. They allow you to make a recreational stimulant, you know, caffeine in coffee. No one's saying that coffee should be regulated, and in the same way, neither should e-cigs, I don't think, at all.
Thank you, Matt. It's great to talk to you. The thing that I want as an e-cig user